Hey, it's Heather, and welcome to another adventure in gardening. So my name is Heather Thibault, and welcome to my garden. Today is the May garden tour, and this is such a magical, May is a magical month in the garden, and there's a lot of really pretty things to see. We also have a lot of projects going on, so you're going to have to tune back in for the June garden tour, hopefully to see some of the projects done. But I garden and homestead on an average size lot in Zone 6, Connecticut, so southeastern Connecticut. And it is every day is an adventure. That's all I can say. But my passion is gardening. A lot of our own food. And I'm passionate about perennials and hosta and a lot of other things. So I hope you enjoy this look around my garden on this beautiful May day. So before we go in the back perennial garden here, I've got these urns out front with some, I think it's apricot lemonade cosmos. It's the short cosmos. My sister grew them this year. The seed is from Baker Creek, and that is Piper. She is one of the 4 garden cats that live here and that work here, right, Pipey? So this right here is where I grow the cherry tomatoes, and I use the Florida weave method. I just planted them, so there's quite a few of them here, and I didn't finish putting in my stakes yet, but excited about tomato season starting. Right behind it I have an asparagus bed. You can see there's an asparagus there that I missed, and there's a couple more over there. I also planted some leeks in here that look like nothing so far. I have 2 English Angora rabbits that are also helpers in my garden, and they produce some great fertilizer as well as being very sweet rabbits. This is a bronze fennel, a perennial geranium. I have Montauk daisy right there that is looking really good. And we'll go around and look at the peony in a minute. So this azalea bush that is right here actually came with the garden. And there's only a few things that came with the garden that are still here. And this is one of them. And it's looking a little raggedy, and it's showing its age, but let me walk around and I'll show you. So this is my garden gate that has just a rootstock rose growing on one side. It used to be a climbing rose, and it died off at the graft, so the roots came, and I've just left it here. I need to pin it back up. And on the other side is sweet autumn clematis. And last year it covered the entire arch. It was really very pretty, but we had a windstorm that broke it off. So it's just starting over again from the base. You can see that. It's looking really good. And so that is not my cat. And I tell him every time he comes into the garden, "You're not my cat." Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go in. That is Penny, and when Penny hears me starting to do a video, she's on. Yep, it doesn't take long for her to find me, huh, Penny? Yep. Yes. Okay, so we'll start on this side here. This azalea, I trimmed all the lower branches here to kind of open it up and at least, make it look a little interesting. So I think I've got a few more years left before I'm going to rip it out and start over. I have 2 peonies right here. This one is my favorite. It's just opening. It's kind of funny because last year's May garden tour, all the peonies were in bloom and all the iris are in bloom, and they're really just getting started. There are only 2 buds on this peony this year. Last year there were a lot more. I grow a lot of my own herbs. I have, this is St. John's wort right here that I use for St. John's wort oil and for tincture. And I've got this little grouping of boxwood here on this side and also on the other side. And they had a hard winter. There's a lot of, I don't think this is boxwood wrong, but there's a lot of new growth starting, and the new growth looks really good. So I have pathways in this garden, and I like gardens that go places, that lead you and make you want to walk through them. So these we did, except for the center path here, we did all of the, when I say we, I mean me. So I've got Lismaki, a ground cover with some lady's mantle. I like the contrast of the foliage, that blue-green there. This is bloomerang lilac that has never looked better. My daughter gave it to me one year for Mother's Day. There is the lamb's ear here that does not produce flowers in this corner. This is comfrey. Comfrey is a useful plant that is good for healing. You can use it in baths. You can use it to make like a balm, you know, like a healing balm. And this one here is marshmallow, which is also a very useful herb. Lots of the tall phlox are in my garden, and that is Mr. Peanut, and he is in the garden. Yeah. I've got a lot of this columbine. Very pretty. It just has self-sowed over the years. There are some poppies that I sprinkled the seeds in wintertime that are just starting to come up. This, I've got echinacea. This herb is called Good King Henry. You can eat it like spinach. It's kind of getting crowded out by the echinacea. And this is what she does. She says, "You're gardening? I'm gardening." Yes, except we don't do that. No. Yeah. This peony here is a semi-tree Bartzella. I've got some garden chives, lots of garden chives that's self-sowed. More columbine. Purple. Lots of perennials just coming up. More peonies there. There's 2 peonies there. There's another big boxwood at the end. You know, sometimes when you're gardening, you have a plan, and but I kind of had just gardened as I have gone along, and so when things don't work anymore, you have to move them. So this guy, he needs to be sheared. I probably could use a wider path here. This is where the line stops. This is a project that I probably won't get to this year, but it needs to, you know, it's the Hemercalis fulva is all in here, along with, you know, the burning bush that have come up. I cannot stand burning bush. But for now, I just mow this path right here. And this is a new part of the garden right here that used to be raised beds, and they just didn't work. You can see that there's so much shade, and there's so much shade almost all day now, but it wasn't that way when I had put the raised beds in. So, so I just have planted some hosta in here, and I have this pathway that now I can mow, which is really nice. Yeah, so this is all new. This little hosta garden here, I kind of used when we were doing a project to just dump hosta in, but it's actually looking really nice. I need a little bit more mulch. There's some May apples back here. Those are the May apples. This is Sum and Substance hosta that the squirrel did this because it was a bird feeder hanging over top, so I need to cut this leaf off. This is Blue Cadet hosta, and that one is avocado, I believe. Kind of get my avocado and my guacamole mixed up until I see them side by side. And that's just a little container that I put together with an abutilon in the middle, and some coleus and some Lismachia. I'll just take the Lismachia and put it in the containers, and they come back every year. And on this side is another Blue Cadet. I don't remember the name of that hosta, but I've got this bleeding heart that looks fantastic. And I noticed that there are a lot of bleeding heart seedlings right down there. So I've been careful to not pull them, and I'll put them someplace else. And this is a work in progress right here. So my friend Carol just gave me this blue-eyed grass, and the blue-eyed grass is actually in the iris family. So you can kind of see that it sort of resembles an iris, I guess. You know, it's very flat. Oh, Penny will ram the camera. Yes. So this is new. This is hellebore. So this is new right here. This is a hellebore that I just picked up. So I'm hoping that between these two things, they're going to take off, and then I just need maybe like a giant hosta right in the back. I need to do a lot more clearing on the back here, and then we're back to the rabbit cage area. Oh, actually, I just planted, well, this is Solomon seal. Solomon seal is such a cool plant. This is one of the plants that came with the garden, and this is a brand new bleeding heart that I just bought this year. Yep, and that messy areas, that's all the rabbits there. So now we'll go around the other way in the garden. Have a lot of echinacea and some daylilies in here. And this guy probably should get moved to a shadier spot. I think maybe what I'll do is I'll dig it up and I'll put it with the hosta garden over there, heuchera. I have a lot of milkweed, and the milkweed is going to need to get tamed this year because it's just coming up everywhere. It's even coming up in the path on the other side. But I am passionate about monarch butterflies, and that's why there is so much milkweed. There are other things, though, that will eat your milkweed. The, what is it, the milkweed beetle, milkweed bug, I'm not sure, but you can see something is over here. They say that they won't bother the monarch caterpillars, but yeah, they'll just chow down on the milkweed. Some Tradescantia. I have two different colors of this. So this is the only one that's blooming right now. And this is Amsonia. It is a self-sower, and I welcome this plant. I love this plant. Totally underused. The leopard's bane is now going to seed, and It can be a little bit of a thug in the garden. You just pull, it's an easy pull though. Oh, look, there's another milkweed coming up right next to my variegated daylily. I'm going to move this daylily this year. Note to self, move that daylily and pull the milkweed, which if you've grown milkweed, yeah, you can pull it. Yeah, it's going to come up again someplace else. It's going to keep traveling down the road. All right, so this side of the garden, there's just a lot of the tall phlox that are just taking up space. So if I get a new perennial, I'll dig up a clump of it. But it looks really pretty in late summer, so it's nice to have. The yellow iris are just starting to pop. I pulled a lot of them last year because there's just too many of them. There's still some. There's one over there. There's a variegated dogwood that I adore. If you go straight here, it takes you down a very old set of stone stairs that are beautiful. I have to be super careful. And started to take care of this hillside here. It is a work in progress. It's coming along nicely. I've got a couple of smoke bush. There's a green one and there's a dark purple one down there. But hopefully you'll see more of this garden in the June tour, because I'm embarrassed by it right now. There is the bachelor button there, and this lupin, not lupin, Heather, Baptisia. I've got this new lavender plant that I bought last year, and it's starting to get buds on it. Excited to see that. That is chelonia right there. A lot of iris that have not bloomed yet. A lot of buds. Got Penny. And this is one of the areas here that needs to get fixed. I need something with height there. There used to be a tall catalpa tree that we took down and we just chipped everything. But it was all shade here for years, and so now I've started to plant, sun-loving perennials. So I have a yellow buddleia right there. You can see that there's Solomon seal popping up. Some echinacea, this little sedum right here. It's just a mixture of things in here. I love this heuchera because this is a great filler flower when I'm doing cut flowers. The Jacob's ladder here has gone to, it's done flowering. It was very pretty about 2 weeks ago. And there's a lot of Agastache coming up. This is the Agastache, which the butterflies and the bees love it. There is a misplaced astilbe. Yeah, he's going to have to get moved someplace else. The garden is a constant work in progress. Yep, she follows me everywhere. She's like, okay, we're going this way now, come on. There's the Amsonia on the other side, and some more iris. And I have a peony and more phlox, and this is gooseneck. It is definitely a thug in the garden, but it kind of takes up this corner here. This is where we do our outdoor grilling. And I just put this little container in next to the grill this year, and it's got silver fir tomato, it's got the orange hat tomato plant. So these are determinate tomatoes. This one stays very short and just gets wide. This one gets to about 3, maybe 3.5, maybe 4 feet. And then I've got some opal basil, some oregano, some Thai basil, and the Genovese basil in the back. So this is a hillside where I practice hugelkultur on. And so hugelkultur is, I'm not going to be able to do a good job of explaining what it is. But basically, you dump your brush and stumps and leaves and all kinds of compost on a hill, or actually you don't have to do it on a hill. I chose to do it on a hill to make this more level here, okay, make it more usable space. So it took about 7 years for it to get so that I could plant in it. I used it last year. I did potatoes, which I wasn't thrilled about. And you can see the back side, oops, my hand, the back side there is where I'm dumping things right now. And the front side I'm planting. And this year I decided that I was going to do cole crops, and you'll notice that there's netting over the top, and that's what the hoops are here for. And the netting is to keep the cats out, because this is really soft soil, and also to keep the cabbage moth from coming in. And I've seen them bounce off the top. I don't know that it's completely foolproof, but I've seen them bounce off. So this is Bare Necessities kale, and there's broccoli romanesco, scarlet kale right there, and then there's some cabbage in the back. So I planted these in March. So gardening when you have a hill can be a challenge. This is my medicine garden with some hostas on the side, and then there's a lot of other things in there, but there are seedlings in here right now. I've got ashwagandha. I'm not even gonna, they're just like puny little things. This is a ginkgo tree that I'm not going to let get big. I'm going to bonsai it and try to keep it to, you know, a small size. I've got a lot of these hosta, which I adore. This hosta, this came from my grandmother's garden. Got the Zloty chamomile growing here. Zloty lawns, I think is the name of it. A witch hazel. There's kind of a mixture. So we'll look at this garden another day. I've got some boneset growing, some goldenrod, medicinals like that. You're not my cat. No, no, no. He used to, he's like, just passing through, lady, just passing through. So this is my crooked peach tree. I swore at the end of the season last year I was going to cut it down and plant a peach tree someplace else. But look at all the peaches. Yeah. So I've tried to straighten it out the best that I can. And on the other side of it, you know, it was here first, and then I put these cherry trees in, thinking they were going to stay manageable. No, it's that tall, but there's cherries on it. So I've got a couple cherry trees here that I'm actually going to have to net because there's a lot of cherries, and the birds love cherries. These are a set of stairs that we put in some time ago. Oh yeah, a long time ago. We've actually gardened on this property for 20 years this fall. When I say we, I mean me have gardened. And I've been actually gardening myself for over 30 years, and by no means am I expert. I'm still learning every day, and I've utilized this shed here to grow things on. I've got grapes that are now in need of their second pruning, but there are little grapes all over, and yes, I get a decent crop here. I need to prune this holly back, so I'll show you the other side of the shed. It goes around 3 sides, so the other sides are more accessible. This little beauty here is a bush clematis. The flowers are always turned downward. Let's see. Nope. It's pretty. Got some boxwood that it's growing in between that need to be pruned back. Got a beautiful willow. And I just prune this and keep it to a manageable size. So this is the entrance here to my salad garden that it is not fully planted this year, and I don't know if it's going to get fully planted. I think I'm going to have a really great fall crop out of here, but we are in the process of fixing the wall here. So I haven't planted much beyond this arch right here. I've got peas on the arch. These are the tall telephone peas, and I'll show you those in a minute. I've got the horseradish that needs to be moved, and moving it, yesterday it was 90 degrees here. Today is 66, but anyway, it's not great transplanting weather, but I'm gonna have to move that. So what's gonna happen is there used to be a wall here that fell down. The wall came tumbling down, and I've just kind of planted things, tucked things in over the years. I need to move all of this beautiful sedum someplace else. Look at that, it's really pretty. So I'm limited to how much I'm planting because feet are going to be in the garden. So over in here I have some eggplant that I started, and the sticks are there to keep the cats away from the eggplant. And then in here I have some carrots with some volunteer mustards, and I'll just be pulling these mustards out. I have yet to edge the garden to get the definition of where the garden starts and where the path ends. This is one small patch of garlic here. I've got some rhubarb over there that was a transplant this year, so it's really small right now. You can see that there's onions all along, some lettuce, some nice looking radishes. This bed here is on the other side of that wall that fell down, and I grow the blueberries here, which are looking fantastic, and the strawberries right beneath them. The strawberries are looking great. It's going to be a great strawberry year. Well, I say that it's going to be a great strawberry year, but yesterday we have not had a lot of rain, and typically we get, well, I say typically, last year it was kind of crazy, but typically we get good spring rain, you know, but I have to supplement the watering on these if I want the juicy strawberries. So around this stump right here, I grow a lot of cut flowers around there, and then there's bulbs that I've got zinnias and things tucked behind it. So this will look like something soon, but right now it's a work in progress. But right above it are these beautiful baptisia that I relocated it from before we started our deck project. It was one plant, and I have gotten all of these plants out of it. It's almost in full bloom. Okay, now we're at the bottom of that set of stairs I showed you earlier. And so these are gooseberries, which I adore gooseberries. When I was a kid, my grandmother grew them, and I just remember loving them so much. They're not a real common thing here where I am anyway, but you can, I like to eat them fresh. I like gooseberry jam. I do not like gooseberry pie. I tried last year. I'm like, no, I don't like gooseberry pie. But I did upside down gooseberry cake. That was very good. So you can see the grapevine up there. And this is the front of that metal shed with the grapevines growing on them. And then the grapevine ends right here. And yeah, I can't say this is the smartest thing I've ever done, but these are hops. So the hops start over fresh every year. That's all their old vine, and I leave it there so they can climb up. And actually, I've got fishing line here. It's hard to keep it behaved, but I use hops. I use them medicinally for tincture, for sleep. Hops is a great thing for sleep. So I just try to keep it in check throughout the season, and yet keep it off of the top, because if it grows up there and flowers, I have a hard time picking the flowers. This is one of my favorites right here. This is the cherry shrub. I think I showed it in my last video in bloom, but do you see the cherries, how they grow? They grow on the main stem. They have large pits in them, but they're tart, but they're really good, and kids love them. So I have 2 of these right at the bottom of the stairs that I grow. And you know, the birds, they come and they try to eat them, but I think I get more than they do. Probably because it's closer to the ground, and I've got my watch cats on duty. So this is the tomato structure that I'll show you in a minute. But first, so I try to problem solve. I problem solve with what I have. I'm very MacGyver-ish. Not mechanical, but I can kind of figure out how to fix problems. And so this hillside, okay, I have been working on this and planting in, kind of like swaths. So I've got this ornamental grass here, and I popped in some cosmos here. This is the orange milkweed just coming up. This is that pretty orange milkweed. And I've got some iris here, and some lamb's ear kind of doing that thing over there, and some more iris. The Aster tartaricus, which is a thug, but there are times when you want that thug. All right, so I'm like, yeah, you go, you do it. And then we've got some echinacea that have self-sowed down here. I started the echinacea at the top, it just decided it wanted, I'm like, yeah, you can live here. More iris, some rose campion. So it's actually quite a bit of rose campion. Again, a self-sower that you don't want everywhere, and you just pull it up if it becomes a problem. And at the end here, I've got, this is milkweed. It's supposed to be milkweed that's coming up. For some reason, the cats love digging in this area. I'm like, stop it. Oh, is that skullcap? That's unexpected to be there, but that's skullcap. Another useful herb for sleep. Actually really good if you are somebody who has a lot of bad dreams. You want pleasant dreams, skullcap, and it's just a chill herb. Rosa rugosa. Now, I've had people say, Oh my gosh. Yes, I know, oh my gosh. But this is a steep hill and I do not want to spend my later years mowing or weed whacking this hill. So the idea is to have it take and go that way. So I'm working on that here. But I also use the rose hips medicinally, very high in vitamin C. So that is the process here of this hill. It'll look really pretty, probably in about, well, for the June tour, it'll look really pretty because there's going to be a lot of blooms going on. So I am in process of planting my bigger tomatoes. These are my indeterminate big tomatoes that are down here. And I grow them on string. So I tie the string to the top and I wrap it around the root ball before I plant it. So I have one of 3 panels or sections planted here. I've got the rest of the tomatoes on the ground. I'll get that done later today. And this little garden here is mostly for the butterflies. It's a pollinator garden. Got the fall blooming anemone, a lot of those, and they self-sow. Mine are the white ones. I've got this guy here. Why is this name escaping me? Wormwood, Artemisia. It's an Artemisia. I've got a lot of the Agastache growing down here. Some dwarf iris. Another big, this is a big Montauk daisy. This one came from my mom's house. My mom's always bringing me plants. That's the thing about gardeners. My sister too, they're always bringing me plants. Blue fescue in the front, and I've got this other Amsonia. Amsonia has such beautiful fall foliage, by the way, but this one's very ferny looking. I saw that there were seedlings down here that I can move other places. So this is one of my favorite places to sit. I love to come down here. It's so peaceful, it's so pretty. We get a lot of guests, a lot of visitors, a lot of people with kids that come to visit us, and the kids love to splash in the water, you know, and you cannot keep kids out of the water. So so I really enjoy this. And I've got a lot of hosta. Well, before we go to the hosta, so I've got this very cool black raspberry that I picked up when I went to the Country Living Fair in Rhinebeck, New York a few years ago. They are the tastiest. I'll try to find the name for it. It's like, I want to say it's like shortcake. The shortcake is in the name, but we had to wait a really long time. So this is right in the area that the kids come in and play in, and this was so tempting for my nephew Andy. He'd say, "Are they ready yet? Are they ready yet?" And you had to wait a long time before they were ready, but they were sweet and juicy and delicious. So my plan for this is to let the cane grow, pin it into the ground over there so it'll kind of root so that I can kind of keep it going. And I'm pretty stubborn, so I will keep it out of other places, but this has been great. And it's thornless. This is a thornless one. So this bed right behind the bench here are where the determinate tomatoes are. Again, I'm going to do the Florida weave method for them. This is Alaskan Fancy. With 2 Principe Borghese are in here. and that's a great tomato for sun-dried tomatoes. The Alaskan Fancy are great for canning whole. See the pretty little lily of the valley behind the bench there? Yeah. And I have one early wonder that I planted right in the front. So hosta. Hosta are definitely a passion of mine. I don't know. I love the colors, the textures, the names. I love the names. This is Big Daddy right here. And Big Daddy has been in the garden, gosh, he was probably one of the first hostas that I got. That Artemisia is over here again. It's just a nice contrast, and it likes to live everywhere. This is Great Expectations. And you know, my sister will come and visit, and you know, we'll walk around and look at the garden. And I'll call the hostas by name, and every time I get to this one, she says, yeah, I have great expectations that you're going to give me a piece of that. But it just hasn't gotten big enough quite yet. You can see that there's a little patriot there. This is it guacamole? Is it avocado? It's the other one. It's the other one. I love this. Look at that green rim here. Very pretty, and more patriots back there. I think those are Big Daddy seedlings. I'm not sure. It's my compost. This is the one I'm filling. That is the one I'm using. And then I just switched back and forth every year. This is a little hosta garden here. My goal was to have, this is going to be a path that goes up to the stairs there. And so there'll be garden here and garden here. So defining them, like I haven't mulched them yet this year. See, we had a lot of, so yesterday was super hot, and we also had a lot of wind, and these from the oak trees are everywhere. Mouse ears. Man, I should have come down and swiped them off first. This is Amy Elizabeth. That's a beauty. This one's Fire Island. Look at that. This is Goodness Gracious. Yeah, because that's what you say when you look at it. You're like, goodness gracious, oh my gosh. I don't know if it's a beaver or if it's a woodchuck. Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah, okay, it's all good. Yeah, you go, you go. All right, yeah. Something runs at me. Yeah, not good. Hopefully he doesn't think he lives here if it's a woodchuck. I think it was a beaver. I don't know what it was. Okay. First blush, back to hosta. Love that. There's a endless summer hydrangea, stained glass, I believe. Who are you? Nope, rainforest sunset. I forget what this one's called. Oh gracious, where's the tag? Oh, good, good, good. Okay, so this one, oh, it's Gentle Giant. This one's Gentle Giant. Year 3, I believe. Yeah. Color Festival, that's from new last year. I don't know who you are. And then new on this side. So I got a couple of hellebores, which I wined in late winter that I didn't have any, so now I have 3. And this is Dancing Queen, and I cannot say that without the ABBA song. Sorry, now you have it stuck in your head too. This is one of my favorite spots in the whole garden. It gets morning sun. I've got a climbing, no, oak leaf hydrangea here. There is a very pretty white bleeding heart behind it that you could see better a few weeks ago, but it's still there, and I just love bleeding heart. Epimediums, great ground cover. Got a painted lady fern that is going to get eaten by the epimedium if I don't move it. This is the painter's palette Persicaria. That's a great shade plant. This is Guardian Angel hosta. Is it Guardian Angel? I'm pretty sure. Some more epimediums. This one's still in flower. There's a ostrich fern in the back. The primrose are just finishing their blooms. This is hosta Bridegroom. This one's new last year. I have not committed it to memory. Sometimes I bury the tags so that I won't lose them. It's not the greatest idea in the world, no. Because then you're like, did I bury it? Did I not bury it? I have no idea. Rainbow's End. This is a very interesting fern. Love that fern. And I have this beautiful variegated dogwood down here too. Love the way it looks. This is Allegheny Fog hosta, a little tiny lady's mantle. I do have some sage growing in the front here. Let's see if I can get my shadow out of the way. The cat's like, yeah, show them these things. She thinks she's the supervisor. She's in charge. Penny, are you in charge? She said, of course I am. So this must be stained glass right here. That's a beauty. That is Gypsy Rose down there with a really pretty lamium growing. This one is Love Pat. This little guy is Andrew, which I bought for my nephew Andy. And I'm trying to find plants with the rest of the kids' names. I need a Billy, an Andy, a Billy, a Lucy, and my new granddaughter, Eleanor, or Ellie. And I can only find plants with a first and last name. I just want their first name. This is Regal Splendor, one of my favorite hosta. They're all my favorite hosta. And T-Rex. And there's a whole lot of elderberry going on that I'm welcoming it in this corner here. And I'll move things as they go, but I really love the elderberry. I love having it in the garden. These are cultivated elderberry. They're a wild elderberry over by the water's edge. And I've got this little clump of wild ginger here. Oh, and I have autumn frost hosta tucked in over here. I got a lot of weeding to do, a lot of work to do. Put that little sedum in the wrong place. Gonna have to move that guy right there. The Japanese forest grass. Right there, I love Japanese forest grass. So that is the hosta garden. So the hostas were there back in the corner and over there. So that's where we've been. Fire pit and back to the tomatoes. So this is now officially one of my favorite nooks in the garden. I love this little area, and I wasn't really sure how I was going to feel about it. But I've got a Juga ground cover. This is Striptease hosta, which I'm going to have to move this one. I totally know that I'm going to have to, because I don't want anything to happen to it. I've got some heuchera, and that is fried bananas hosta. Fried bananas looks good under any it just doesn't matter if it's hot, doesn't matter, you know, it just looks good all the time. Humpback whale, I believe, or something like that. This is Brunnera. Very pretty. So I have to show off this variegated kiwi. I love the foliage on this. Very, very pretty. It's just fresh out of bloom. You can kind of still see the blooms on it. See? Okay, it was covered. It was really pretty. But it's looks good in a shady spot, and it's a great plant. I need the partner to it. I don't know if this one's male or female, but I need the other one. So that is it for today's garden tour. There's actually a lot of other different little areas to see, but there's just so much going on that, you know. June, I hope that you can join me again. I hope you subscribe so that you can come back for the June tour, and for the other little videos that happen in between. But thanks for visiting with me today, and every day is a beautiful adventure. You just got to get out there and find it. So thanks for watching. Hope to see you soon.